Democrats are making it no secret that they're searching for a plan B, as President Biden stumbles his way into becoming one of the worst presidents in American history. Headline after headline show party officials fretting about Joe's old age and plummeting polls. Democratic kingmaker Jim Clyburn laying out who he thinks will succeed Joe Biden.
Well, it's no question in my mind that Joe Biden is doing exactly what needs to be done for this great country of ours. We all know that our democracy is teetering on edge. We need a Joe Biden to get us through this rough patch, and I think he's doing great with that. We know that his podcast includes Vice President Harris. I support her, and I'm just saying that if he chooses not to run again, first on my list after him will be Kamala Harris.
Yep, Democrats say it's Kamala's time to shine. Never mind her disastrous time in office and poor handling of issues like the border. MSNBC's Joy Reid thinks you just don't know the real Kamala. Quote, I think she doesn't get to show that personality often enough. And so people haven't had a chance to get to know her. Most of the media is still white and male. And their take on Kamala Harris becomes the take. It becomes conventional wisdom. You know what? Joy is right. Americans don't get to see the real Kamala enough. So here's a reminder.
I experienced great joy when I watched this brilliant, phenomenal Black woman, jurist, be so smart and just cut through the political gamesmanship that they were attempting to incite.
Dana, when she speaks so slowly, is she trying to think of things to say, or is she trying to sound very thoughtful?
Perhaps a combination of both,
okay.
Right? Because sometimes the sentences don't quite make as much sense as that one did. I mean, you could understand where she was going. It wasn't as much of the word salad that we have seen before. Interestingly, about the articles that we've seen since the New York Times first broke the seal, saying that Joe Biden shouldn't run again in 2024, is that there's never, any of the Democrats quoted since are not like, but we have Kamala, so everything's going to be fine. There's, there's none of that except for Congressman Clyburn, who I think is being the statesman, and he's trying to be kind, but that is not happening. And evidence of that is that they had to cancel a fundraiser because not enough people wanted to pay $15,000 for a photo with Kamala Harris. And now there's a California event in its place only charging $5,000. So if you're trending down on the fundraising leading into the midterm, it's hard to imagine that that goes back up in 2024.
How much do people pay for a picture with you?
They pay, well, 15 grand, but they get more than a picture, Jesse. more like a video. And
they pay
man,
with
it
their
goes
life.
for hours. You know what the thing is, when you showed that video of her, somebody had talked to her and said, you got to start picking your words more wisely, because she uses words the way like a used car salesman uses cologne, splashes it all over the place, hoping that masks the stench of incompetence or dishonesty. It's exciting and nerve-wracking to watch her speak, though. I enjoyed it. It's like, remember the flying Walendas?
Yep.
It's like watching a flying Walenda try to cross a tightrope between two buildings. So you never know if she's going to make it to the other end. Oftentimes she doesn't. I also like it when people say, the real reason people don't like you is they just don't know you. No, it's the reverse. It's because they know you. There's a gut instinct that kind of like from people they figure it out. It's like what they used to say about Hillary. Like, oh, if people who know Hillary, oh, she's a barrel of laughs. Yeah, until she kills you.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. We talk about, we always talk about having a deep bench. It's a baseball term, Dana.
Got it.
But the Dems don't have a deep bench. They have barely a squatty potty. And it's all full of crap.
I had a pink one of those.
Very good.
Really?
In a car.
I'm glad you brought it back.
You have a squatty potty in your car?
For like long road trips when we would go from Denver to Wyoming. It was a little pink one.
This is an interesting development that I didn't expect.
I don't know why I just said that out loud.
That'll be in the news.
What do you think about Clyburn just not shutting down the Kamala talk? All he has to say is, I support Joe Biden. He's doing a great job. That's it.
Well, here's the thing about Clyburn. I mean, he's the guy who gave us Joe Biden, okay? So given what we've had for the last year and a half, I'm really not inclined to go with him.
Yeah, he owes
and
us
go with
one.
his recommendation. But you know, I love the best part of this is I was going to talk about 15,000 to 5,000. Most of us at the table could get that much. The 5, you'd probably get 15, Greg.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's all
Because of the
right.
video.
But I love when Joy Reid said, the reason that people don't know Kamala or don't like her is because they don't know her. Well, here's a tip. I don't want to get to know her. I really don't. What I see is enough. I want her to be a leader. I want to admire her. I want to make sure that she is someone who's effective. I want little girls to look up to her and say, I want to be a vice president like that. I don't need another girlfriend. I really don't need to get to know her. I want her to be effective. And by the way, the fact that no one wants to get to know her better and they won't even show up for some of these fundraisers, she's a total disaster. And 64% of Americans don't want Biden to run again. I mean, that's a huge number. That is a huge number. And I can't imagine that last number I heard of her was 28% approved of her. So I doubt she's going anywhere. And I don't know why they continue with this charade. Oh, yeah, he's doing what's right and she is too. They're not. We're in a mess.
She might be a hidden gem, though.
Oh, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah,
My segment.
And more on that later. So Joy says she's getting a bad rap because the media is mostly male and mostly white. What about Dick Cheney? Was he covered fairly by the mainstream media? Same white male media didn't treat him very well.
Pause, control, chat, that one.
Okay, yeah.
I think that I listened to Congressman Clyburn carefully, and I think everyone's right. There was not a burst of we are fully behind and we can't wait for Joe Biden to run again. I do think that it's hard for me to imagine the president not seeking re-election. Some Democrats are concerned about his age, and I read a story yesterday, and this ageism stuff I don't really engage in, but I think Democrats need to stop worrying so much about the mental and physical acuity of the president. What we need to be focused on is the policy acuity. If policies were working to the extent that some around the table would agree with, and for that matter, the polling data suggests that a lot of the country wants things to be different, we wouldn't mind if you stumble over words or even a stumble up the stairs. Right. I think the country is ready for a stronger set of policies on the border, on crime, inflation. Now, for Republicans, launching never-ending attacks is not going to win the race in 2 years. You've got to lay out a positive narrative and vision for the country. If you're able to do that, I don't care what party you're in, you're able to defeat an incumbent president. But you're not going to defeat any president by just saying he's bad, he's terrible, he's old. At least there are a number of people who've lost races doing it. There's a guy named Mundell who lost to Reagan saying he was too old of a guy. So, look, I think there's no question Democrats and Biden have to get better. If they don't get better, Republicans are going to be able to not only launch a serious campaign, but maybe a winning campaign in 2 years.
Maybe a winning campaign. Wouldn't that be something?
It would be something. But you know what? There is a point to be, maybe it's time for younger people to be in office. I mean, somebody like me.
Yeah. You know what? I
Yes.
support
Are you
ageism in that case.
I'm not tall enough, but I am.
You are not. Yeah, definitely not tall enough. But you do have a quick wit. That'll get you halfway there.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.